I'm sure many of you will be familiar now with Mosab Hassan Yousef, the son of a Hamas co-founder and leader, who turned his back on the anti-Semitic Jew hatred that he was spoon-fed as a child. He managed to see the light. He managed to change his ways. He heard the voice of moral conscience. He saw the truth about Israel and the Jewish people. And it's really a remarkable story. But I've often wondered, what was it? Was there any particular moment, event? Was there a process that led him to change his ways? Because it's not only interesting for us to understand his story, but also perhaps how we might be able to de-radicalize other people and shift other people's perspectives who are so hostile, because that's ultimately going to be part of the key to dealing with this whole conflict. Gad Saad asked him this question on his podcast, and I want you to see Mosab's answer.
Look, of course, I did not have the realizations that I have today. Somehow I knew them deep in my consciousness. But it's an evolution. And people want to reduce my life experience with all the adventures in it, in the public world and in the secret world of terrorist organization and the most powerful intelligence service out there. They want to just reduce me to a victim, somebody who's got like issues with his father, or someone who's got issues with Hamas. They don't understand that this is a sole purpose, and their lies, their false narrative, false accusations, all attempts to discredit my life journey will go in vain. And hence I stand firm in my truth, because what I witnessed since childhood led me to this point. When we talk about society that justify honor killing, how can we blame this on Israel or on the United States, on the colonizers? This is a failing attempt to export all our problems, including social problems and cultural problems, on some hypothetical entity that we did not know about. So, in principle, this I did not like. I did not like to see a father hitting his daughter in the city square with a metal pipe on her head again and again and again until she died, while the public were watching and nobody did something about it. No one tried to stop him. Why? Because he's the father. He has the authority to kill the woman, because the woman is a property in that society. Now, this is not only one event in childhood. It's happening all the time. And in fact, there is no punishment for the honor killing. So a father can kill his daughter, or a brother can kill his sister. Then after that, there is no punishment. They just give the gun to the Palestinian Authority police station, and they don't spend even one night in prison. So now when we are dealing with such brutality, where the rape victims being punished equally as the rapist, and that's protected by the belief system. This is protected by the culture. It's the agreeable. Then the cousin violence, then the factional violence, rival parties, each one of them belong to a foreign entity. They have different masters and they have extreme political views, irreconcilable in some cases, like in Fatah and Hamas. And they are all claiming that they are fighting for Palestine. I said, no, what I see, what my first-hand observation, you are burning our people to death. You don't care for the children. You want people to die, and all you care about, money and power. This has been their game. So the things went really south when I was in Megiddo prison. I spent there about 16 months. And this is where I witnessed Hamas brutality firsthand. My father told me, we have to emancipate, or let's say end the occupation. And his version of end the occupation meant the ethnic cleansing of the Jewish people, then establishing an Islamic state, not a Palestinian state. This is a very important point that people need to understand, that most of the Palestinian factions, they are not even national organizations. They are foreigners, or at least they are serving foreign entities. So now, when you want to go on such a suicidal mission, you want to uproot a superpower, and then you want to establish an Islamic state on the rubble of that power. What does this really mean? It means annihilation of everybody, and could be a global war. So how could this be? How could any rational mind accept such an absurd agenda? Right. I don't want to say it's criminal only, but it's if there is a definition of madness, this is what madness is all about.
And what animates this, and I mean, I think you'll agree with me, but I'd really like to hear your perspective. So growing up in Lebanon as a Jewish person, even in tolerant, progressive, modern Lebanon, Jew hatred was a banal part of the DNA of society, right? People throw it at you like it's nothing. It rained today, goddamn Jew. I got diabetes, goddamn Jew. My wife cheated on me. It's the Jew who put the... So I presume that you growing up within the Palestinian territories, you were exposed very early to Jew hatred. And let's make it clear. It's Jew hatred, not Zionist hatred, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all of the attempts today to come and say, oh, yeah, we are not anti-Jewish people, but we are anti-Israel, which in my opinion is even worse to say that, because this manipulation and using juggling with words to hide the ill motive, that we know that the Arabs and the Muslims have fundamental issue with the Jewish people. And this conflict in the Middle East is not a political conflict, and it's not a conflict about territory.
About land, yeah, exactly.
Or about land. This is why many people want the artificial reasons. They don't have the courage to dig deeper, that we have hundreds of millions of Muslims around the world that have been weaponizing their religious identity against a religious minority in that region, and they want it to cease to exist.
So I'm going to stop here, and obviously what he's saying about people being dishonest when they say, I'm just against Israel, it's important that we realize that, and as Gad is pointing out as well, that it's really about the Jews, and it, just as it has been for 3,000 years, and it shouldn't be surprising to us that it's still ongoing. And maybe, just maybe, it actually is the fact that the only state out there in the world whose existence is questioned, maybe it has something to do with the fact that the Jews have been hated for 3,000 years. But I want to focus on his evolution, and he's talking a bit about how things kind of led him to change his ways and to see the light. So for me, there's two really interesting takeaways from the things he said. He mentions all kinds of things that he saw, and he said sometimes people like to trivialize it or pin it all down to one moment or one thing, or they say it's father issues or whatever. And he says, really interesting, he says it was actually an evolution. It was a step-by-step, a drip-by-drip kind of process of realizing things. And that's the first point he made. Now, I really resonate with that, because I think about some of the beliefs that I came to have and ideological changes that I've had over the years. For example, becoming more convinced in belief of God, in my Jewish observance, understanding having certain views and philosophical views. For me, it's always been a process. It hasn't just been overnight. My Jewish observance was a gradual process of growth where things slowly kind of fit into place. And yes, there were some moments that were more transformative than others. But it really is an evolution. It's a process, and that's healthy. Sometimes it can be very, very, very earth-shattering and devastating to go through an ideological transformation in an instance. to suddenly think, my gosh, everything I've been told, everything I've been taught was a lie. And so that justifies why we should keep telling the truth and keep, every single day putting out more content, sharing things with others. Every conversation has value. Every dent you make has an impact. To really validate this perspective, because often it's just reaching a critical mass of information or people saying something that people start to shift. So that should really validate the first the first point, which is we should keep going. We should keep saying things, keep telling the truth, because it takes time for people to change. But the second thing, which I found really enlightening, was, do you remember he said near the start, he said, I did know deep in my soul what was true all along. Now, when we know something is true deep in our soul, he didn't necessarily have the ability to articulate or access that or to realize it on a fully present conscious level, at least at the start. But the fact that he said it was deep there inside of his soul, that he knew deep down, should give us a huge amount of optimism and confidence, because I'm of the belief that even those who are greatly hostile to the Jewish people, they know the truth deep down. And actually, they're waiting for us to tell them the truth. The Jewish people, sometimes we hear some Jews saying, we can't tell them that we are God's chosen people, chosen to be his voice to the world. We can't start saying that he assigned us this land. It's too... It will come across as too arrogant. It will come across as so provocative and inflammatory. But the truth is that this is not a question of arrogance or what we think. It's just a question of, this is the truth. We didn't do the choosing. God did the choosing. And it's also potentially a great source of celebration, because it means the world has purpose and everyone here has a unique role to play in that purpose. And so people actually are desperate for moral leadership, for moral clarity. And they sense with the Jewish people that we are different. And that's partly why we have been treated different throughout history. But remember, being treated different isn't necessarily a bad thing. Could be a good thing, potentially. There's dignity in difference. It's just the question is, what do you consider the Jewish people to be? And so they always know, they sense deep in their hearts that there is a difference among the Jewish people. And so the question is, are we going to tell them the truth? And the point is, they know deep down what the truth is, even if it is at a very, very subconscious level. And the more we deny it, the more we frustrate them. And so actually, it is my view that part of the way we deal with this conflict, deal with this problem, the ultimate solution is not to shy away from telling the truth. It's not to shy away from being clear about who we are. The truth is that people know, the world knows, and that's what history tells us. The world knows the Jewish people are different, and now we finally have the time to clearly articulate it and express it. But this time round, we're living in a world that has realized the vacuousness of their other ideologies that have failed them. We're living in a world of such great confusion, such apathy, and just general malaise. People becoming alienated with all the things they used to put their hope in. And so those words where he said, I knew deep down what was true, we, the Jewish people, should really take that to heart. The world knows deep down what the truth is, and they are desperately waiting for us to express it to them. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.